The train screeched to a halt at the dusty station of Dry Creek, its whistle cutting through the hot afternoon air. A thin veil of steam drifted across the platform, where townsfolk bustled about, collecting parcels and greeting relatives. Amidst the clamor stood a young woman, Emma, her hands clutching a small carpet bag, her eyes scanning the faces with growing despair. She had traveled for 3 days straight from the east, answering a letter promising marriage to a man she had never met. Her dress was plain but neat, her bonnet shielding her from the unrelenting sun. She expected someone to step forward, call her name, and whisk her away into a new life. Yet no one came. For 3 days she returned to the station, waiting on each train, watching strangers reunite while her hope drained away. Whispers spread quickly in a small town. "Mail-order bride left unclaimed," some sneered. Others shook their heads with pity. Emma held herself with as much dignity as she could, but inside, her heart ached with humiliation. On the 3rd day, she sat on the station bench, her carpet bag at her feet, tears she fought so hard to hide brimming in her eyes. The station master passed by, awkwardly clearing his throat. "Ma'am, might be you were tricked. Ain't right, but it happens. Maybe you should head back east." Emma swallowed hard, her pride keeping her from answering. To return would mean defeat. She had no home to go back to, no family to welcome her. The west was her only chance, though it seemed to have abandoned her already. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of fire, a small voice broke the silence. "Papa, that's her." "That's my mama." Emma blinked, startled, and turned her head. A little girl no more than 6 years old pointed directly at her. She had long braids, dusty boots, and the earnest eyes of a child who knew her heart. Beside her stood a tall rancher, rugged and sunburned, his hat in hand as he looked from his daughter to the stranger on the bench. The rancher hesitated, his brows furrowing. "Mary," he said gently, "you can't just go picking strangers." But the girl tugged his hand insistently. "Papa, I prayed for a mama and she came. She looks just like I dreamed." Emma's throat tightened. The rancher's eyes met hers, and for a long moment neither spoke. She saw the loneliness in his face, the same loneliness that haunted her own. His clothes were worn from labor, his shoulders broad from work, but it was the guarded softness in his eyes that caught her. Finally, he tipped his hat. "Ma'am, name's Jacob Turner. My little girl's got a wild imagination, but I apologize for her forwardness." Emma forced a small smile, though her chest ached with longing. "No need to apologize. She only speaks with honesty most adults have forgotten." Jacob studied her, the silence stretching. He saw a woman abandoned yet proud, fragile yet unbroken. Something stirred in him, a memory of his late wife, a yearning for companionship, a longing for someone who could bring warmth back into their home. Mary, impatient, tugged his sleeve again. "Papa, please, ask her to come home with us. I know she's the one." Emma's heart pounded. She wanted to laugh, to cry, to tell the girl that life didn't work so easily, yet she could not ignore the child's conviction, nor the way Jacob's steady gaze lingered on her. That night, Jacob offered her supper at their small ranch house on the edge of town. Emma accepted cautiously, unsure if she was stepping into salvation or another disappointment. The house was modest, built of weathered wood, but filled with signs of life. Mary's toys scattered on the floor, the scent of bread still warm in the oven, the sound of laughter echoing faintly from memories past. At the table, Emma learned of their loss. Jacob's wife had died 3 winters ago, leaving him to raise Mary alone. The ranch kept him busy, but the emptiness weighed heavy on them both. Emma shared her own story, how she had been promised to a man who never came, how she had left behind everything in hopes of finding a place to belong. The words hung in the air like fragile glass. Jacob said little, but the kindness in his eyes deepened. Mary, however, had no reservations. She leaned against Emma's arm and declared, "You're staying. You'll read me stories and braid my hair. You'll be my mama." Emma's breath hitched, her heart both breaking and mending in the same instant. "We'll see, child," she whispered, brushing a strand of hair from Mary's face. Days turned to weeks. Emma remained at the Turner Ranch, at first helping with small chores as repayment for their hospitality. She mended clothes, cooked meals, and read to Mary by lamplight. Slowly, the ranch began to feel less like a stranger's house and more like a home. Jacob watched her quietly. At sunrise, when she stepped outside with Mary to gather eggs, The golden light touched her face, and he felt the ache of something he thought long buried. At dusk, when they sat by the fire, listening to Emma's gentle voice reading, he realized the loneliness inside him was no longer endless. But the town remembered. Some whispered cruelly about the abandoned bride now living with a rancher. Others hinted she was desperate, attaching herself to the first man who would take her. The gossip reached Emma's ears, and once again shame threatened to unravel her. One evening, she packed her carpetbag, tears stinging her eyes. She could not bear to be a burden nor a source of ridicule for Jacob and Mary. But as she stepped toward the door, Jacob stopped her. His hand was firm on hers. "Emma, don't. This is your home if you'll have it." "Folks will always talk, but I don't care for their tongues. I care for what's right, for Mary and for myself. And I know this much, you belong here." Emma's lips trembled, her voice breaking. "But you never asked for me. It was your daughter who chose me." Jacob's gaze softened, his thumb brushing her knuckles. Then maybe she saw what I was too blind to admit, that I needed you as much as she did. Mary appeared in the doorway, clutching her doll. "Please, Mama, don't leave." Emma fell to her knees, gathering the child in her arms. Her tears spilled freely now, but they were no longer tears of despair. "I'm not leaving, sweetheart. Not ever." That night, under the wide western sky, Jacob and Emma stood on the porch watching the stars. Silence wrapped around them, but it was no longer empty. Jacob slipped his hand into hers, rough from work yet warm. Emma did not pull away. The months ahead were not easy. Ranch life demanded toil and sacrifice, and whispers in town did not fade quickly. Yet in the laughter of a child, the steady companionship of two souls scarred by loss, and the quiet beauty of the frontier, Emma found what she had sought all along. Not just a husband, not just a home, but a family. Years later, when people asked Mary about the day her mama came to them, she would smile with certainty and say, "I knew her the moment I saw her. The Lord sent her to us. Papa was too stubborn to see it, so I had to tell him myself." And Emma, listening, would smile through tears, remembering the dusty station, the loneliness of 3 days unclaimed, and the miracle of a little girl's voice that changed everything. For in the unforgiving Wild West, where many hearts were hardened by survival, it was the innocence of a child that stitched together a family. And under the vast skies of Dry Creek, Emma finally found where she was meant to belong,